World War II shaped the lives of a generation. The war broke families apart, brought communities together, and turned a depressed economy into an industrial machine. On the home front, citizens sold war bonds and collected scrap metal for the factories. Friends were made and lost as a generation of boys was sent into combat. Penn State Public Broadcasting invited those who lived this history to share their stories of World War II.
I'm Paul A. Grove, and I'm actually from State College. I was actually born in Bellefonte, but now we live in State College. I was in the Army. When I was 18. I was drafted. And I felt fine, and I guess it was. I guess it was all right.
Okay.
It was the thing to do, I guess. Mm-hmm. First of all, I was in a military police escort guard company. I took military police training in Fort Custer, Michigan, and then my first assignment was in Camp Housey, Texas, where we had 5,000 German Afrika Korps prisoners. And then eventually I got transferred back to New York. We brought 500 of them back to New York, brought them back on a train, came right through Altoona, right down through Milesburg, and up to Fort Niagara. And then I had a group of them out in up near Batavia, New York, and they were working in the fields, in the tomato fields, and pulling weeds, and I worked in the vinegar plant. And then they came on one day and said, "One amen, you're going." I wound up in the infantry. I landed in Le Havre, France, and then we fought we started fighting in Luxembourg, in France, and then in Germany. We had a 30% casualty rate just for our company crossing the Rhine. I was in boat 13. There were 14 men in it, and I'm the only one that got out alive. Our company commander was in it, the forward observer, first sergeant, both runners from the platoon that I was in, and I was the only one that got out alive. When the boat exploded, I didn't know what happened, and I was left. You know, we had winter clothes on yet. I had long johns on, my ODs, had a field jacket and a sweater, and I had 180 rounds of ammunition. I had a mortar shell that I put down in my jacket. Everybody had to take something when we left. I'm going to just leave it when we got over there. So when the boat went down, well, the boat exploded, actually, and I know this from stories that I've talked to other guys. They saw this boat explode, and that's the one that I was in. And so when I got awake, I was in the water, and the boat was disappearing, and the shells were flying everywhere. And I tried to unload everything that I could because I had all that gear on, you know. My rifle belt, I had a grenade stuck on my rifle belt, and I pulled it off and I'm trying to swim because I'm heavy because I've got all this loot on me. So I got rid of everything, and I had a bandolier of ammunition on it. A bandolier was just a cloth thing with 8 clips in it, and I couldn't find it, but I pushed my helmet off, and it took my wool knit hat on, it took my glasses off, so I lost my glasses. So I didn't know what to do, and I thought that when I got over on the German side, which I was closer to it, and not knowing much about history those days, I thought I went south. The Rhine River flows north. So I wound up on the other end of the town, well, not the other end, but quite a ways away from where it was, and I laid in the water, and I had a hold of a rock like this, and I'm watching all the tracers go by, and after a bit something moved on the bank, and I get out, and here was one of our other men from our company who was shot 8 times. Not serious, but he had 8 shots in him. We counted them. And then when it became daylight, we ran across the open place into the town, and there was a German nurse that had a German soldier, and so she took care of him too. Then I eventually caught up with the rest of the company, but I couldn't go until I got my glasses. And back in Luxembourg, our duffel bags were there, and they went back and I got my glasses. They found it and got my glasses. So that was one of my worst parts. I think it was the waiting, not knowing what's going to come next, and then after it all happens, you kind of get, when it starts to happen, you kind of get relieved. You're just all tied up tight, and then all of a sudden it all breaks loose, and you don't know where you are or what you're you don't know anybody within 50 feet of you. You're actually, that's where you are. Every day you're in a new, in a new piece of territory, and you often wonder how do they know where we are? Mm-hmm. We don't. We didn't. Well, somebody did, but when you're on the line, you don't know. We liberated Ohrdorf, a concentration camp, and we were the first American unit to liberate a concentration camp. First American unit, and they had General Eisenhower and General Patton, who we fought under. We were under General Patton's, and they both were there, and I have pictures of it. I think that was the worst thing I saw. That was worse than crossing the Rhine. And I saw it with my own eyes. They say it didn't happen, but I saw it. I have it all up here. It was a horrible. The ones that the pictures they show, they shot them just before. The ones that couldn't go anywhere, they just killed them right away. And they had rows of them spread out, and then they put lime on it, and they put another row of bodies on the top, and they put lime, another row of bodies on it. It stunk. You could smell it. You could smell it a mile away. It was so bad. They just did it right there in the compound. They killed them, and that was it. Once we found a building with a lot of bicycles in it, and oh boy, we walked so long. The bicycle was great. That only lasted a short time. Third Army order came out, no bicycles. You're not allowed to ride bicycles. So they stopped us right away. There are probably a lot of things, if you could really, think about it. I think about them once in a while, and you forget about a lot of the things. Yeah, what did they do? A couple of fellows one time, we were on a high ridge. They went down in a German town and they had I don't know where they got the wagon and a whole keg of beer. They came back with this keg of beer. Of course, what else did we have to do? I was a runner in a rifle company, and we had to do everything else too. I had to pull guard duty like everybody else did. So one morning, coming off of guard duty, it was just getting daylight. Coming back to the company headquarters, we came past a milk house, and there was like a 5-gallon can of milk on it. And I said, "Oh boy, you'd just take that." It was full. I carried the thing all the way back, and it was sour. It was rotten when we got back. Anyway, we weren't allowed to drink it because they didn't have any. There was no controls or anything on the milk those days. So it was probably it would have been the worst thing I could have done was drink it. Coming off outpost again, and I heard these chickens. I said, "Oh boy, fresh chicken. Let's see if we can get one." Wow, I didn't like chickens anyway, but I opened the door, and this chicken came out of that building in a flash, and I thought he's not going to get away. I was pretty thin then. I could run. I ran that chicken till I caught it. We killed it. We built a fire. We defeathered it the best we could. We burned the rest of the feathers on. We burned the feathers off of it. We had it about half cooked, and they said, "Move out." So I just cut the chicken up in pieces, stuck it in her pocket. It was like shoe leather. We had to throw it away. I never forgot that one. Somebody lost a chicken that day. Well, we had rations. We had K rations and C rations all the time. We had hot food once in a while, but mostly every day we started out with K rations. The little square boxes about like that. You had to carry. You ate one and carried 2 of them with you. You hope you didn't lose it, or you didn't get anything to eat the rest of the day. I think maybe coming home and getting a job, because I was just right out of high school, and I think getting a job, getting an automobile, I think that was maybe one of the things which you couldn't buy those days. Mm-hmm. You couldn't buy an automobile when I got out of the service. Mm-hmm. There were a few, because they were built military cars, military vehicles. They didn't build civilian ones yet. Well, eventually got one, but I was going to stay in the service, actually. And then I found out when I got discharged that it would have been the worst thing to do, because once you have an infantry MOS number, you never lose it. It's always on your record. And if I would have stayed in, I would have probably got Korea. They'd have put me right back in the infantry again. I said, nah, you're not going to do that. You got your chances once, and that was it. No, not so much. No, I think I was a wreck for a long time. Yeah, it affected me for a long time. It still does, actually. I even watch a lot of that stuff, but I can't watch anything that's too gory, I guess you could say. Well, I guess you can say it was a great experience. There's nothing else. It's nothing you ever expected was going to happen in your life. No, that's about all. It's just an amazing experience, I guess you can say.